Pushing for progress in ties between the world's two largest economies. That goal is front and center at a high-level dialogue in New York City. It's also an opportunity to promote China's Belt and Road Initiative in front of an influential audience. CGTN's Wang Guan joins us live from New York City. So Guan, what is the significance of these discussions at the Asia Society?
Elaine, this is a very high senior ranking Chinese delegation headed meeting. Chinese delegation means business. They believe that the economic and trading relationship is the cornerstone of a sound U.S.-China relationship. And they're here to tell the U.S. audience, think tanks, the media, where they're faring in terms of the 100-day plan made out by President Xi and President Trump at Mar-a-Lago in April. This is really a nice mixture of senior Chinese delegation. We have the vice chairman of CPPCC, China's top political advisory body, Chinese ambassador to the U.S., Cui Tiankai, and also some working level, middle-ranking officials who have all the power to make things done in China, and they're in a good position to advise the U.S. audience. So out of this meeting today, two very important work reports. One is this U.S.-China economic report. In this report, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce mapped out a vision for the bilateral trading relationship. They believe this is a very complementary relationship. At the site of the meeting, we caught up, John Terry, my colleague, and I both caught up with C.H. Tan, the first and former chief executive of Hong Kong, and I asked him in Mandarin, so you're going to hear the English version made by my colleague John, why he believes U.S.-China trading relationship is getting increasingly complementary. Let's take a listen.
China has about 20% of world population, but only about 7–8% are arable land of the world. And in the longer term, China would need more and more farm products.
And the U.S. can help.
And U.S. is a big nation producing farm products.
Elaine, that's what you have heard from a senior Chinese official, also the first chief executive of Hong Kong, and also the officials at Asia Society. Kevin Rudd said exchanges like these are very important because they're bringing more light instead of more heat to this very important bilateral relationship.
So a lot of discussion. So Guan, what are the concerns from both sides on the trade relationship?
Yeah, this report, 72 pages long, mapped out by Chinese Ministry of Commerce, really details some very specific concerns by both sides on this trading relationship. And chief among them for the U.S. side is trade deficit, market access to the Chinese market, and intellectual property protection. Beijing readily acknowledges that it still has a long way to go in terms of intellectual property protection, but it has made substantial efforts in terms of market access. It argues that there is such a thing as infant industry in every country. But in terms of trade deficit, the Chinese Commerce Ministry says that if you take into intermediary goods, goods shipped to China for just assembly and shipped to the U.S. later, it's counted as Chinese exports. But in fact, only 60% of the profits really only goes to the Chinese makers. And also the Chinese concerns, on the other hand, are such as U.S. high-tech export control. Let's not forget U.S. still has an arms embargo against China starting since the 1980s. And also Chinese enterprises, according to this report, face the CFRS, a U.S. review agency's very rigorous review processes. Sometimes it's a little too rigorous, according to this report. But anyhow, the two sides decides that it's important to keep talking, to keep engaging each other. And this is what really this Asia Society hosted summit is all about, a platform for Chinese senior officials to engage the U.S. media, think tanks, and stakeholders to tell them this is a truly mutually complementary trading relationship.
All right, CGTN's Wang Guan live for us in New York City.